AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she treated my kids? I, 34F, have always been close to my family, especially my younger sister, Emily, 30F. We've shared a lot over the years, and I've always gone out of my way to support her. She's always been the golden child of our parents and has a certain charisma that makes people instantly like her. I love her dearly, but recently, something happened that has really shaken my relationship with her. Emily got engaged about a year ago, and I was thrilled for her. Her fiancé, Mark, 32M, seemed nice enough, though he's very different from Emily in terms of personality. From the beginning of the wedding planning, I tried to be involved and helpful because I genuinely enjoy planning events. I also have two children, Liam, 8, and Sophie, 5, and I was excited about them being a part of the big day. Things started to get weird about 4 months ago. Emily began telling me that she wanted the wedding to be an adults-only affair. At first, I thought she meant the reception or the evening events, which I could understand, but then she clarified that she didn't want my kids anywhere near the ceremony, the photos, or any of the pre-wedding events, including the rehearsal dinner. She said she wanted a calm and elegant event without kids running around. It implied that Liam and Sophie would somehow ruin the aesthetic of the wedding. I tried to explain that my kids are well-behaved and that we could make arrangements to ensure they wouldn't cause any disruption. I even offered to hire a babysitter to supervise them during the ceremony. Emily responded with a firm no and said that it wasn't just about behavior. It was about vibes and the energy of the wedding. I felt hurt because my kids are a huge part of my life, and this felt like a personal rejection, not just a logistical decision. I didn't immediately react. I tried to compromise by saying I would keep them home for the wedding day itself if necessary, but I wanted to be part of the pre-wedding events. Emily refused to budge, insisting that all events were adults only. I reminded her that she used to love spending time with Liam and Sophie and had often expressed how cute she thought they were. She brushed it off and said, "Things change when you get married. You have to make choices about what kind of wedding you want." It hurt, but I wanted to be supportive, so I decided to attend anyway, without the kids. Then things escalated. About 2 months before the wedding, Emily's mother, my mom, brought up that she had been helping Emily with a seating arrangement. She mentioned in passing that Emily refused to put my name at the table near her other close friends and family. When I asked why, Mom said, "Emily thinks it'll be less awkward if your table is separate." I didn't say anything at the time because I didn't want to start a fight, but it stung. A few weeks later, I found out through a mutual friend that Emily had actually told several people that she didn't want me spoiling the vibe at her wedding. My stomach sank. This wasn't just about the kids anymore. This felt like a deliberate attempt to exclude me. I confronted Emily, and she said, "You're overreacting. I just want everything perfect, and I don't want family drama on my day." I tried to tell her that excluding my children and marginalizing me as a guest was family drama, but she refused to acknowledge it. At this point, I had to make a decision. Do I go to my sister's wedding knowing that my children, who I adore and who adore their aunt, are being explicitly excluded? Do I smile and pretend nothing is wrong while she subtly communicates that we aren't welcome? I decided I couldn't. I called Emily and told her that I would not be attending the wedding. I explained that I loved her, that I wanted to celebrate her marriage, but I couldn't be part of an event that explicitly rejected my family. The fallout was immediate and dramatic. Emily called me selfish, saying that I was prioritizing my children over our relationship, and that she felt betrayed. Our parents are upset with me, saying I'm being dramatic and that I should just go and behave like an adult. My husband supports me and says I did the right thing because our kids' feelings matter, and it would be impossible for me to genuinely enjoy the wedding knowing how they were treated. Some mutual friends have weighed in, saying that Emily is clearly overreacting and that it's not a reasonable expectation to exclude children from every pre-wedding event. But others side with her, claiming that adults-only weddings are common and that I'm overreacting. I'm torn. Part of me feels guilty for potentially hurting my sister's big day, but the larger part of me feels like attending would make me complicit in sending my kids a message that they're not welcome in family events. Since making my decision, Emily hasn't spoken to me much. She posts pictures from wedding planning and from bridal showers, clearly knowing I'm not attending. Our parents hint that I need to apologize and make peace, but I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. I'm stuck in this weird emotional limbo where I love my sister, but her actions have made me feel unwelcome and undervalued. I want to be fair. Maybe I'm being overprotective of my kids, but I also feel like this is about more than just a wedding. It feels like a boundary issue and a test of how much my sister values my family. I'm wondering if I'm being unreasonable for refusing to attend, or if I'm justified in standing my ground. AITA for skipping my sister's wedding because she explicitly excluded my children and treated me like a guest she barely wanted there. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after what happened at my own wedding. I, 32F, have been struggling with this situation for months, and I really need an outside perspective because my family is divided and I feel like I'm losing my mind over it. I'll try to explain everything clearly. A little backstory. I got married about 2 years ago. My sister, Lila, 28F, was one of my bridesmaids. Our relationship has always been a little rocky, mostly because she tends to be manipulative and attention-seeking, but I try to overlook it for family harmony. Leading up to my wedding, I've been planning it meticulously for about a year, saving and budgeting carefully, wanting it to be a meaningful and personal day. I didn't care about extravagance, just that it felt like us as a couple. The drama started with Lila during the dress fittings. She insisted on buying a very expensive designer dress for herself and then kept complaining about how my wedding colors didn't suit her. She also wanted her own bridesmaid bouquet, insisting that it had to be different from the other bridesmaids. I tried to compromise and told her she could have a slightly different shade or flower, but she wasn't satisfied. She made passive-aggressive comments in front of my other bridesmaids, saying things like, well, I guess not everyone can pull off this shade, right? It was embarrassing, but I tried to brush it off. The real blow came on the day of the wedding. My husband and I had decided to do a first-look photo session privately before the ceremony. We had asked everyone to respect that moment, but Lila ignored it entirely. She barged into the room while we were taking pictures and started snapping photos with her phone, literally stepping between us and the photographer. When I politely asked her to step aside, she said, "Relax, it's just a picture. Everyone will want to see it." She kept taking photos, and honestly, it completely ruined the intimacy of that moment. I was frustrated, but tried to stay calm because it was my wedding day. Then, during the reception, things got worse. Lila kept making pointed comments to my guests about how expensive everything looked and how she hoped the bride and groom weren't overspending. She also constantly compared everything to her own upcoming wedding, even though she had barely started planning it at the time. At one point, she grabbed the microphone during the speeches and made a long, awkward, and very public speech about how she hoped her wedding would be more memorable and better than this one. People were visibly uncomfortable, and I felt humiliated. I tried to confront her after the wedding, but she brushed it off, saying I was overreacting and that she was just excited and honest. My parents said I should let it go and not make waves, which only made me feel more isolated. I spent months trying to repair my relationship with her, but every attempt was met with either indifference or passive-aggressive comments. Fast forward to now. Lila is getting married in a few months, and I have been dreading it. When she initially asked me to be a bridesmaid, I hesitated, knowing how toxic things got during my own wedding, but she insisted that I had to be involved because family is everything. I initially agreed to go as a guest only, thinking I could keep my distance, but she later guilt-tripped me, saying that if I didn't participate, I was showing favoritism to her fiancé over her and breaking family tradition. I tried to set boundaries. I told her I would attend the ceremony, but not the rehearsal dinner or bachelorette party because of work and prior commitments. She became visibly upset, but said she understood. I should have seen the red flags there. Things escalated when she asked me to help with the wedding playlist and seating arrangements. I politely declined, explaining that I was happy to give general advice, but wasn't going to micromanage her entire wedding. She then sent a series of texts accusing me of being lazy, selfish, and disrespectful. When I didn't respond immediately, she sent more messages saying that if I didn't comply, I was ruining her wedding and that I clearly didn't care about family. The final straw came last week. My parents were visiting, and Lila decided to drop by unannounced to discuss her wedding plans. During the conversation, she loudly complained about how my wedding was so much more extravagant and how I stole the spotlight with my decorations and photos. She said that she wanted to avoid me overshadowing her wedding and that I should tone it down if I came. When I calmly told her I couldn't control other guests or my behavior, she accused me of being deliberately antagonistic. I realized that attending her wedding would likely trigger another round of humiliation or confrontation. I also don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a dress, travel, and gifts only to be treated like a villain for existing. I told my parents that I won't be attending, explaining my reasons honestly. My mom is furious, saying I'm being dramatic and selfish and tearing the family apart. My dad is slightly more understanding, but thinks I should at least send a gift and a card. Lila is now openly calling me a terrible sister and threatening to post passive-aggressive things on social media if I don't attend. I've received messages from some relatives saying I should try to compromise or just grin and bear it, but I honestly feel like this is about my mental health and boundaries, not about being petty. My friends all say I'm justified, but I keep second-guessing myself because I hate being the family villain. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after everything that happened at mine. I feel like I'm protecting myself, but my family is treating it like I've committed some unforgivable offense. I would like an impartial view on this because I'm exhausted from trying to explain myself and being accused of being selfish. AITA for refusing to let my cousin bring her baby to my wedding even though she's family. So, this is a long one, but I really need some perspective because I'm starting to question whether I'm being unreasonable. I, 28F, am getting married in a few months, and my cousin, let's call her Lisa, 26F, has a 6-month-old baby. Our families are close, and I love Lisa, but this situation has been stressing me out more than I anticipated. When I started planning the wedding, I always imagined it as a child-free event, partly because I wanted a more relaxed adult atmosphere, and partly because my venue has strict space and safety limitations. It's a smaller barn venue with lots of tables, a dance floor, and an outdoor area, and I didn't want the risk of babies crawling around near food, tables, and decorations. I also wanted the reception to be more party-like, and honestly, I know myself. I get anxious easily, and the thought of worrying about a baby all night in addition to my wedding stress was not appealing. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with Lisa about the wedding, and she brought up her baby. I told her that the wedding is child-free and explained why. She got quiet for a bit, then said she understood but added, "Well, it's my baby. I mean, it's family. You make an exception, right?" I tried to stay calm. I explained that I really wasn't comfortable with babies at the reception, and that it's not personal. It's literally the logistics and the kind of atmosphere I want. She sighed and said, "I just don't get why everyone is allowed, but my baby can't come. I'm family, and I shouldn't have to miss this because of a rule." I reminded her that no one under 18 is allowed. Some of our friends and cousins have kids, and none of them are being allowed either. She rolled her eyes and said, "But everyone else's kids aren't 6 months old. This isn't fair." Things escalated when she started hinting that if her baby isn't invited, she might not come. I felt a tight mix of guilt and frustration. I don't want to hurt Lisa or make her feel unwelcome, but I also don't want my wedding to turn into a stressful babysitting scenario. I asked my mom for advice, and she said, "You should make an exception. It's family, and she'll be offended otherwise." I understand where my mom is coming from, but my fiancé and I have been clear that this is child-free for a reason. To be transparent, I try to compromise. I suggested hiring a professional babysitter or arranging a small daycare room nearby. Lisa said that's not the same, that it's not the same as being part of the celebration, and that she doesn't want a stranger caring for her child on my wedding day. At this point, we're at a standstill. I offered her the chance to come to the ceremony and take photos with us before leaving for a parent and baby-friendly dinner afterward. But she said that's ridiculous and that she wants to be there for the whole day. Here's where I start to wonder if I'm the asshole. I feel guilty for potentially excluding her and her baby. She's my cousin, and I know she would love to be there. I worry about family drama if I stick to my guns, especially because our extended family can get heated over perceived slights. At the same time, this is my wedding, my fiancé and I are paying for it, and I don't want to compromise on something that could create stress or accidents. I feel like I'm caught between my desire for a calm, adult-focused wedding and the social/family expectation that babies should be welcome, especially close family. I haven't told anyone else in my family about the babysitter compromise yet because I'm afraid of backlash. I know some people might say, just let her come to avoid drama. But part of me wonders if giving in will set a precedent where every cousin or friend assumes their child can come regardless of the rules. I want my wedding to feel cohesive, and I feel like making an exception could make things messy and unfair. I haven't outright banned her from coming yet. I've tried to communicate clearly that it's not about her personally and suggested alternatives. But she's making it feel personal, and I'm starting to dread conversations with her because it always ends with her looking hurt or frustrated. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my cousin bring her baby to my wedding, even though she's family? Or should I just let her come to avoid hurt feelings and drama? Character count, 6,473. If you want, I can write another one that's even longer and more dramatic, hitting closer to the 7,000 character mark with extra twists and multiple family dynamics, which tends to get even more popular Reddit story vibes. Do you want me to do that? AITA for telling my sister that her wedding plans were selfish and causing a family rift? I, 32F, come from a pretty close-knit family. We've always had our issues, like any family, but generally, we communicate well and support each other. My younger sister, Emma, 28F, got engaged last year, and things have been relatively smooth until the wedding planning started. From the beginning, Emma made it clear she wanted a big destination wedding. She's always dreamed of having her wedding on a private beach in the Caribbean. At first, everyone was excited for her. I tried to be supportive, thinking it would be an amazing experience and a fun family vacation. But as the planning progressed, I began noticing how exclusionary and expensive her plans were becoming. Emma has always been somewhat impulsive with money, but I didn't think it would be a problem until she started sending out save-the-dates that included airfare estimates for guests and instructions for booking accommodations at a specific resort. My parents, who are retired and on fixed incomes, were immediately stressed out. They couldn't justify spending thousands of dollars to attend a wedding. My brother, 30M, and his wife also expressed concerns, noting that it would be nearly impossible for them to take that much time off work with such short notice. I try to bring up these concerns gently. I told Emma that maybe a more central location, or at least a wedding that didn't require such high costs from her guests, would be more practical. She immediately got defensive. She accused me of being unsupportive and trying to ruin her dream wedding. I tried to explain that my goal wasn't to ruin her wedding, but to avoid putting unnecessary financial strain on people she loves. She told me I was being dramatic and making a mountain out of a molehill. Things escalated when she sent out formal invitations and included a note asking that guests RSVP only if they were committed to attending and could afford the trip. This really hit a nerve with me. I called her and told her frankly that her approach was incredibly selfish. I said that weddings are supposed to be a celebration of love and family, not a test of how much money your relatives can spare. Emma yelled at me, accused me of trying to shame her, and hung up. After that, I started getting messages from family members who were frustrated and hurt. My parents said they felt guilty for even considering attending because of the cost. My brother and his wife admitted they were tempted to decline, but felt trapped by the expectation. I tried talking to Emma again, but she refused to listen and insisted that everyone else should just make it work if they wanted to be part of her special day. 2 weeks ago, I attended a family dinner where we were supposed to discuss the wedding logistics. Emma refused to come. She sent a long text accusing me of alienating the family and trying to control her life. I told her that I wasn't trying to control her, but that her approach was creating resentment and was unfair to people who love her. My parents started crying, and my brother stormed out. It was a complete disaster. Now, the family is divided. Some relatives are saying I was right, and that Emma needs to be more considerate. Others are saying I overstepped and should have kept my mouth shut. Emma hasn't spoken to me in a week and has posted on social media about how toxic family dynamics are ruining her life. Meanwhile, I feel stuck because I genuinely want her to have a beautiful wedding, but I also don't want to see my family financially and emotionally stressed. I know weddings are emotional and people get passionate about their dreams, but I feel like this could have been handled more reasonably. I never told her she couldn't have a destination wedding or that she couldn't spend money on herself. I only asked that she consider the impact on others. Am I the asshole for pointing out the financial and emotional strain her wedding plans are causing? Or should I just step back and let her do whatever she wants, even if it hurts the family? The tension has been unbearable, and now other relatives are choosing sides. I can feel this is going to affect future holidays and gatherings if we don't resolve it soon. I still hope for some compromise, but I'm not sure how to approach it without making things worse. I'm fully prepared to apologize if I cross a line in how I phrase things, but I also think some of the backlash is unfair because I was trying to protect the family from unnecessary stress. This whole situation has left me questioning whether there's any way to be honest and caring without being labeled the villain. AITA for telling my sister that her wedding plans are selfish and creating a rift in the family. AITA for refusing to let my younger brother's fiancé plan my wedding. So, this is going to be a long one, but I'll try to lay out all the context because honestly, I'm still struggling to figure out if I'm a jerk here. I, 29F, am engaged to my partner, Sam, 31M, and we're planning our wedding for next year. Everything was going smoothly until my younger brother, Luke, 26M, got engaged. His fiancée, Kara, 25F, has been increasingly involved in our wedding planning, and I feel like it's crossing some boundaries. To start, I have a pretty clear vision for my wedding. I've always imagined a small, intimate ceremony with close family and friends, lots of greenery, pastel colors, and a kind of rustic chic vibe. Sam and I agreed that we wanted it to feel personal and cozy, not a huge, extravagant affair. We started sending out save the dates, booking a venue, and meeting vendors, and things were going well. Enter Kara. Luke and Kara are really into the idea of Pinterest-perfect events. I don't mean that in a bad way, but she's very controlling when it comes to aesthetics and logistics. At first, I thought it was sweet that she was excited, but then she started taking over small decisions, like suggesting a completely different color palette and ordering an alternative cake just because she thought it would photograph better. Sam and I politely said no a few times, but she didn't stop. She also started implying that we should extend the guest list significantly because it's our big day too, and we all know friends of friends matter for social networking. I found this absurd because, again, we wanted it small. The first real confrontation happened when she insisted that she should be the one choosing my bridesmaids' dresses. I told her firmly that this was something I wanted to do with my bridesmaids and myself, and she got upset, claiming I was being selfish and excluding family. At that point, I started documenting all of her suggestions and politely declining anything that wasn't aligned with our vision. Things escalated further when Kara started messaging our vendors directly. She emailed the florist and caterer suggesting changes to arrangements and menu items. She even messaged our photographer asking if he could also shoot Luke and her engagement photos at our wedding. I was shocked. I immediately contacted all vendors, explained that Kara's requests were not authorized, and asked them not to respond to her emails. The breaking point was a few weeks ago. I was showing Kara some of the invitations we designed. She looked at them and immediately said, these are nice, but they feel so basic. I could make something better that would impress everyone. I laughed awkwardly, trying to be polite, but she persisted, suggesting she could redesign the invitations entirely and not in a subtle way. It felt like she was undermining everything Sam and I had worked on. I told her I appreciated her input, but that I wanted to keep our design. She pouted, crossed her arms, and muttered that I was ruining her chance to contribute to family history. A few days later, Luke called me. He He said that Kara was upset and crying because she felt I was rejecting her ideas and that I was being too controlling. He asked me if I could compromise and let her plan a part of the wedding, maybe the cocktail hour or some decor elements. I told him that while I love Kara as a person, this was not her wedding, and we had already made decisions. I offered that she could help with small, agreed-upon details if she wanted, like picking flowers for the centerpieces under my guidance, but that everything had to align with our vision. Luke got quiet and said he understood but sounded annoyed. After that, Kara started posting subtle things on social media, like vague comments about people who are so controlling at weddings and how she loves being part of the planning process even when it's hard. It's obvious they're directed at me. My parents are starting to weigh in too. They think I should let her contribute more because it will make her feel included and not cause family drama. Sam agrees with me, but is worried about the tension it's creating. Honestly, I feel like I'm being punished for having boundaries. I don't mind Kara being involved in a supportive way, but she keeps trying to take control, and it's stressing me out. I don't want my wedding day to feel like someone else's project. I've tried communicating calmly and setting limits, but every time I do, Kara frames it as me being mean or controlling. I know family dynamics are tricky, and I understand wanting to include your future in-laws in big events, but this feels like it's gone way beyond helpful input. I also don't want to make my brother feel like he has to choose between his fiancée and me. I've even considered setting up a family meeting to talk about boundaries, but I'm nervous that it will blow up. So Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to let my brother's fiancée plan my wedding and trying to keep firm boundaries? I don't want to alien her, but I also don't want to compromise my wedding vision. Character count, 6,384 if you want. I can also craft a slightly longer version that pushes closer to 7,000 characters, adding more tension and family interactions, which tends to make these posts feel even more viral Reddit style. Do you want me to do that? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé handle my mother's funeral arrangements? So this is going to be long, but I'll try to give all the relevant details. My mother passed away about 3 weeks ago, and things have been tense. I'm 32, my sister is 28, and she's been engaged to her fiancé, Tom, for about a year. My mother and I were really close. She raised me mostly on her own after my dad left when I was a kid. My sister, on the other hand, had a different relationship with her. They loved each other, of course, but it was never as close or as intense as mine and Mom's relationship. When my mom went into the hospital, my sister and I were both there constantly, but I was the one managing everything day to day because I lived nearby and could be there more. Tom was, well, he came and went. He helped in some ways, but he didn't know much about my mother or her wishes. After my mom passed, the family started discussing the funeral arrangements. My mother had been very clear about her wishes in some respects. She wanted a small service, not a big, showy thing. She wanted it at the local chapel she loved, and she wanted her ashes scattered in a nearby lake. She didn't leave a formal written will about it, but she had mentioned it multiple times to me, so I felt confident I knew her wishes. The problem started when my sister and Tom got involved. Tom, apparently, had some strong ideas about what the funeral should look like. He wanted a big ceremony with a rented hall, live musicians, and some very elaborate decorations. He even suggested hiring a professional eulogist because, in his words, not everyone's going to be comfortable with your emotional storytelling. This rubbed me the wrong way immediately. I tried to explain to my sister that I thought this went against what Mom wanted. She defended Tom at first, saying he was just trying to help and that maybe it would be nice to do something a bit more special. I didn't argue with the idea of being respectful or thoughtful, but the level of extravagance he was suggesting was completely unnecessary, in my opinion, and very far from what Mom wanted. The tipping point came when Tom suggested that he could take the lead in arranging everything. He said, and I quote, "You've been stressed out enough, let me handle this. I know what's best." I immediately felt a red flag. This is not a man who knew my mother at all. He barely knew her favorite songs, let alone the tone she wanted for her farewell. I said no, firmly, that I would be handling it, and that if he wanted to help, he could support me in whatever way I chose. My sister got upset and said I was being unreasonable, that I should let Tom help because he's part of the family now and wanted to honor Mom too. I explained again that honoring her means respecting her wishes, not staging some extravagant show. The conversation ended with my sister storming out, saying I was controlling and that I was making it impossible for her fiancé to do anything. I went ahead and planned the funeral the way I thought my mom would have wanted. It was simple: a chapel service, a few close friends and family, a modest arrangement of flowers, and a small gathering afterward. We scattered her ashes at the lake exactly like she wanted. I thought it went well, and I got a lot of positive feedback from other relatives. The drama didn't end there. After the funeral, my sister and Tom stopped speaking to me. Tom sent me a long message calling me overbearing and selfish, and my sister sent me one saying that I had shut her and Tom out of the most important part of our lives, and that I had turned Mom's passing into my own show. Now, my father, who hasn't been in the picture much, has also weighed in and said he thinks I overstepped by excluding Tom. He argues that Tom was trying to help and that family should work together. But honestly, I feel like he doesn't understand the dynamic. Tom wasn't part of our family in the same intimate way that I and Mom were. I've tried reaching out to both my sister and Tom to explain my side and offer reconciliation, but they've basically ignored me. My aunt has said I handled it correctly, and a few close friends agreed, but I keep feeling guilty because it seems like I've completely alienated my sister in the process. I also feel a little shaken because Tom and my sister keep posting subtle things online about how family dynamics can be messy when someone refuses help, which is clearly about me. I keep thinking, did I go too far? Should I have allowed Tom to plan parts of the service, even if it wasn't exactly what Mom would have wanted? Or was I justified in making sure my mother's wishes were honored exactly as she wanted? So, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé handle our mother's funeral arrangements. AITA for refusing to lend my car to my sister after she caused a huge fight at a family event. I, 28F, have always been the responsible one in my family. I have a stable job, own a car, and generally try to avoid drama, even though my family has a reputation for creating it. My younger sister, Emma, 25F, has a history of being impulsive and sometimes reckless, and that has caused issues in the past. A few months ago, I decided I needed a break from the family drama and started setting firmer boundaries, which has not always gone over well. The incident happened last weekend. My parents were hosting a small family gathering for my dad's birthday. I drove over in my own car, as I usually do. My sister doesn't have a car right now, and she frequently asks to borrow mine. Usually, I say yes if I have no other plans, but I've been more careful recently because I value my privacy and my vehicle, and I also worry about liability if anything happens while someone else is driving it. The day of the party, Emma asked to borrow my car to run an urgent errand before the party. I hesitated because I had planned to leave a bit early to handle some work stuff, and I was worried she might be careless. She tried to pressure me by saying, "It's just a quick drive, and it's for Dad. Come on, you never help me out." I told her I wasn't comfortable lending it this time, and she immediately got upset. She started arguing right there in front of my parents and my cousins, saying I was being selfish and treating her like a child. I tried to calmly explain that it wasn't about her personally, but about responsibility and past experiences where she had borrowed my things and not returned them in the same condition or used them recklessly. Emma wouldn't let it go, and the argument escalated. She said things like, "You think you're better than me because you have a car?" And, "I can't believe you're being so controlling over something so small." At that point, my parents stepped in, and my mom told me I was being too rigid and needed to be a good sister. I ended up leaving the argument to avoid making it worse and went to another room to calm down. Emma stormed out shortly after and refused to speak to anyone for the rest of the evening. The rest of the party was tense, and I felt like everyone was judging me for not giving in. The next day, my mom called me and basically lectured me, saying that I should have put family first and that my refusal was selfish. My dad was a little more neutral, but said he wished I had been more flexible. Emma sent me a text that said, "Thanks for making everything so uncomfortable for Dad's birthday. I can't believe you don't trust me with your car. You clearly think you're better than me." I feel really torn because I do value my relationship with my sister, and I hate that this caused such a big fight. But at the same time, I think my boundaries are reasonable especially given the history of her being careless and the fact that this is my personal property. I also feel like if I give in now, it will just reinforce the idea that I have to comply with her every request, no matter how inconvenient or risky it is. Since the incident, my parents have been subtly pressuring me every time we talk about family plans, asking me to be nicer and think about what family really means. Emma hasn't spoken to me, but I know she's still upset. Some of my friends think I did the right thing, while others say I overreacted and should have just let her borrow the car to keep the peace. I'm left wondering if I was truly being selfish or if I was justified in setting a boundary that protects my property and my own peace of mind. I really don't want this to permanently damage my relationship with my sister, but I also don't want to be bullied into lending my car or compromising my comfort. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to lend my car to my sister and standing my ground, even though it caused a big family fight. AITA for ruining my sister's wedding because I refused to lie about my pregnancy. So this all started about a year ago. My 27F sister, Emily, 30F, and her fiancé, Ryan, 32M, have been dating for about 8 years and finally decided to tie the knot. From the beginning, Emily made it clear that she wanted her wedding to be perfect, and by that she meant every detail meticulously planned, and importantly, everyone following the rules she set. I've always been a pretty laid-back person, so I tried to go along with it, but apparently that wasn't always easy. About 6 months before the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. My boyfriend, Daniel, and I were thrilled. We had been trying for a while, and it felt like finally everything was falling into place. The issue is that Emily's wedding was coming up in 4 months, and she had been very vocal about how she didn't want any distractions from her big day. She specifically mentioned that she didn't want any drama, and her biggest fear was anyone upstaging her in any way, including life events like pregnancies. I didn't think much of it at first. I just assumed I'd be able to attend the wedding and maybe just explain that I was pregnant if anyone noticed. I hadn't told Emily yet because I wanted to make sure my health was okay and the pregnancy was progressing normally. Unfortunately, 2 months before the wedding, I started showing a bit and there was no hiding it. That's when the tension started. Emily called me out of the blue and asked if I was pregnant. I tried to be honest but careful, saying, "Yes, I am, but I really don't want it to overshadow your day. I just want to celebrate with you." Emily freaked out. She told me that a pregnancy at the wedding would ruin the aesthetic and everyone will notice you more than me. I honestly didn't know what to say. She then asked me if I would consider pretending I wasn't pregnant until after the wedding. Pretending, as in lying to everyone, including our family. She said she didn't want me wearing maternity clothes, didn't want me in photos where I looked obviously pregnant, and basically wanted me to shrink myself into being invisible. I refused. I told her that I wasn't going to lie about being pregnant. This is my body and my life, and I wasn't going to fake anything for anyone's comfort, even my sister. Emily then cried and said that I was selfish and that I was trying to steal her spotlight. She threatened to uninvite me if I didn't agree to at least wear looser clothes and avoid certain photos. I tried to compromise by agreeing to wear a slightly more forgiving dress and to stand in the back during group photos, but she said it wasn't enough. A week before the wedding, things escalated. Emily posted on a family group chat something along the lines of, "Hope everyone respects that this is about me and not anyone else. Some people need to remember that." It was very clear who she was talking about. Daniel suggested we just skip the wedding to avoid conflict, but I really didn't want to do that. I hadn't done anything wrong, and it was important to me to support my sister even if she was being unreasonable. So, wedding day comes. I wore a dress that was beautiful, flowy, and somewhat concealing, but still comfortable for my pregnancy. Emily barely spoke to me during the ceremony. During the reception, she made a big scene when she realized some photos from the photographer showed me with my belly visible. She pulled me aside and started yelling in front of the photographer and half the guests, accusing me of ruining her wedding and making it all about me. I told her calmly that I wasn't trying to do anything of the sort and that I loved her and was happy for her, but I wasn't going to hide my pregnancy. She then stormed off crying, leaving me standing there stunned. After that, several family members pulled me aside. Some said I was right, that Emily had overreacted, while others said I should have just gone along with it to keep the peace. My parents, who were hosting much of the wedding, were caught in the middle and didn't really know what to do. Ryan, her husband, avoided me for the rest of the day, and I didn't even get to congratulate Emily properly because she was seething. Since the wedding, Emily has barely spoken to me. She has posted passive-aggressive messages on social media about people stealing attention from weddings and life events, which I assume is about me. My other siblings are trying to stay neutral, but I can feel the tension every time we're in the same room. Daniel and I are still excited about the baby, but I feel really guilty and sad that my sister hates me now over something I feel like I shouldn't have had to compromise. I'm wondering if I really was in the wrong. I understand wanting your wedding to be perfect, but I don't think anyone should have to lie about their life to accommodate someone else. But my sister seems to genuinely believe that I ruined her day. So, AITA for refusing to lie about my pregnancy at my sister's wedding? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to let my sister's dog live in my apartment, even though she claims I'm being unreasonable. So, I, 27F, live in a small one-bedroom apartment in a city that's notoriously expensive. I work from home most days as a graphic designer, which means my space is my sanctuary. I've always had a boundary about pets because I have mild allergies and a very strict routine that keeps my anxiety manageable. My sister, Liz, 29F, has a golden retriever named Max. Max is a lovable, goofy dog, but he's also very high energy and tends to get into everything if left unsupervised. Liz knows my apartment is tiny and my lifestyle doesn't accommodate a dog, but she recently started pushing me to let Max stay with me for extended periods. It all started about a month ago. Liz got a new job that requires her to travel a lot, sometimes for weeks at a time, and she asked me if Max could stay with me for a few days. I said I could help occasionally, like a night or two, if she had a last-minute emergency, but long-term stays weren't possible. She said she understood, but then started dropping hints every time I saw her. I'm going to need Max for a week while I'm at this conference, or he's just so lonely. You'd be doing me a favor. I repeated that my apartment and schedule simply don't allow it. She seemed frustrated, but didn't argue, at least not at the time. Last week, however, she really pushed it. She called me crying because she had a last-minute work trip and no one else could watch Max, and she said I was the only family member she could rely on. She said, "I just know you love him too. He's practically your dog anyway," which made me feel guilty, but I stood my ground. I explained my allergies, the small size of my apartment, my anxiety around high-energy dogs in small spaces, and my need for a routine to work effectively from home. She seemed to calm down after that call, but then she came over later in person and tried to guilt-trip me further, saying that if I really loved her, I'd make a small sacrifice for her and Max. I stayed firm, and she left without Max, but she's been cold toward me ever since. She's been posting on social media about how some people would do anything for family, and subtly tagging me in posts about dog sitting or loyalty. Our parents have also started dropping hints, saying I should help her out. It's just a temporary thing. I feel trapped because I don't want to be unreasonable, but I also feel like my boundaries are being completely ignored. Yesterday, Liz called again, this time demanding that I let Max stay for an entire month because she has a work project overseas. She said she would pay me for utilities and food, but I told her no. She exploded, saying I was selfish, that I don't care about family, and that Max deserves better than living alone in a kennel while you hoard your apartment. She accused me of being manipulative and cruel because she claimed that Max gets depressed when he's not around people. I've been trying to reason with her, saying there are professional dog boarding facilities, pet sitters, and even friends who would love to help, but she refuses to listen. Our parents are now pressuring me again, implying I'm being heartless, and my friends are divided. Some say I should just let her dog stay temporarily, while others say she's completely overstepping. I try to compromise by offering a weekend visit under strict rules, or even letting her dog stay in my apartment while I stay at a friend's place for a few days, But she said none of that works because she needs Max in my space, not someone else's. I also feel like no matter what I do, she will find a way to blame me if anything goes wrong. I love my sister, and I love Max in small doses, but I cannot imagine having him in my apartment for a month. My anxiety would skyrocket, and my work would suffer. So, Reddit, AITA here. I feel like I'm being reasonable, but my sister and my family are making me feel like I'm the villain for sticking to my boundaries. I'm trying to be supportive and help her find alternatives, but she refuses to consider anything besides my apartment. I should also mention that if I were a more casual dog owner or had more space, I might consider it. But the reality is that my apartment is one room plus a tiny bathroom, and I live alone. Max is a sweet dog, but he's very active, sheds a lot, and can be stubborn. Even the thought of him staying for weeks makes me anxious and stressed. I don't know if I'm missing something here, or if my sister is genuinely in crisis, but I feel like this isn't my responsibility. I just want to protect my home and my mental health without being labeled as cruel. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's dog stay in my apartment for extended periods, even though she claims I'm being unreasonable. AITA for refusing to give my sister-in-law a special favor that she expected, and now the whole family is mad at me? So, some context first. I, 34F, have been married to my husband, Mike, 36M, for 8 years. We have 2 kids, ages 6 and 3. Mike has a younger sister, Jenna, 30F, who has always been the type to expect the world to revolve around her, but I generally tolerate it because, well, she's family. Lately, though, things escalated, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm actually the *** hole here. A few weeks ago, Jenna asked me for what she framed as a huge favor. She recently started her own small business selling handmade home decor, and she said she had an important local market coming up where she'd be showcasing her products. She asked me to let her store some inventory in our garage because her apartment is too small. On top of that, she casually mentioned she'd like me to handle sales for her at the market that weekend because she knows I'm better with people than her. She said it in a very light, joking way, but the way she presented it made it feel like I was supposed to just agree without thinking. I was taken aback because, first of all, our garage is already packed with our own stuff. We've been meaning to reorganize it for months, but there's no way I can suddenly make room for someone else's inventory on top of our stuff. Secondly, I have a lot going on that weekend, including both kids' activities, a volunteer shift I can't reschedule, and honestly, I just didn't feel comfortable managing her sales. I've helped her with small things before, like brainstorming ideas or giving feedback, but running a whole market table isn't something I can just do. I told her no politely, saying that our garage is full and that I wouldn't be able to manage sales at the market. She looked annoyed, but didn't say much at the time. I thought that would be the end of it. The next day, she called Mike and apparently framed it like I was being completely unreasonable. She told him that I had refused to help her even though she barely has any space, and that I was being selfish. Mike was initially neutral, but then started pushing me to at least help with the storage part. He argued that I'm always saying yes to family, and that this would be a small thing in comparison to everything I've done in the past. I reminded him that yes, I've helped in the past, but those were manageable things, not taking on someone else's work for a weekend. He didn't see it that way. Then things got worse. The day before the market, Jenna showed up at our house with a few boxes of inventory and asked if she could just leave them in our garage for one night. I told her that unfortunately, it still wouldn't work. We just didn't have room, and I had already committed to other tasks. She started arguing and said, "Mike is going to be so upset with you. He'll think you're making my life impossible." At that point, I got frustrated and told her she needed to find another solution because I wasn't going to be manipulated into doing something I genuinely could not accommodate. That evening, Mike came home and things blew up. Jenna had called him again, apparently in tears, saying that I had completely ruined her chances at this market. Mike yelled at me, saying that I always find excuses and that I should have just said yes to help his sister. I tried explaining that it wasn't about being unhelpful, it was about logistics and boundaries, but he wouldn't hear it. He also kept bringing up all the past times I had said yes, like helping him move, organizing holiday parties, or babysitting on short notice. I reminded him that those were things I had actually agreed to and were within reason, whereas this was an entire weekend commitment plus storage space I literally don't have. He said I was making my own convenience more important than family. Things escalated further when Jenna texted me that night, saying I was selfish, cold, and a terrible sister-in-law. She also copied Mike. At that point, I blocked her for a few hours just to calm down. Mike continued to be upset with me the next day, barely speaking, and has been avoiding me. My parents and in-laws got involved after Jenna called them, saying I was refusing to support family and being unreasonable. Now it feels like the entire family is against me. To add more context, I've been trying really hard to balance my own family and work responsibilities. My husband and I have always shared duties, but lately, he's been more lenient with me, saying yes to family requests while holding me accountable when I say no. I've never refused to help completely without reason, but this situation felt different because it was a huge commitment and I genuinely didn't have the capacity. I can't help but feel that saying no doesn't make me a bad person. I've been reasonable in the past, and I've supported family in smaller, manageable ways. I also don't think it's fair that I'm being guilt-tripped for setting boundaries. On the other hand, I see why Jenna might be upset. She's a small business owner under stress. But it doesn't feel right that my entire family has turned on me over one request. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister-in-law use our garage and manage or market sales? Or am I actually being unreasonable? Character count, 6,343 if you want. I can also make a longer version that hits the full 7,000 characters, adding more family interactions and subtle drama, to make it even more in line with the most popular AITA posts. Do you want me to do that? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? I, 28F, have always been close to my sister, Emily, 30F. Growing up, she was my role model, and we shared almost everything: clothes, music, even our secret diary entries. After college, we drifted slightly because of our careers, but I always considered us close enough that life events like weddings would be a shared joy. I never imagined that one day I might have to decide whether or not to attend hers. Emily got engaged about a year ago to her boyfriend, Jason, 32M. At first, I was happy for her. I met him a few times at family gatherings, and he seemed charming on the surface. But after a few interactions, I started noticing things that made me uncomfortable. He often made subtly demeaning jokes toward me and my parents. At first, I brushed it off as awkward humor, but it became clear that his jokes were targeted and repeated. The breaking point came when I went over to their house for a casual dinner after the engagement announcement. Jason had invited a few friends, and the conversation somehow turned to careers. When I mentioned that I was considering applying for a promotion at work, he laughed and said, "Good luck getting anywhere. You've always been a bit scatterbrained, haven't you?" I froze. My sister laughed it off, saying he was just joking, but I could feel everyone at the table noticing the awkward tension. I didn't respond. I just finished my meal quietly. After that dinner, I tried to talk to Emily about my concerns, but she told me I was overreacting. She said Jason might have a sharp sense of humor and that I was too sensitive. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, thinking that maybe I was reading too much into things. But the more I observed, the more I realized that he had a pattern of belittling her family and even her friends when he thought they weren't paying attention. Over the next few months, it became worse. During a holiday family gathering, Jason made a comment about my career ambitions being adorably delusional in front of my parents. Emily smiled nervously but didn't intervene. When I pulled Emily aside later, she admitted she had noticed the comment, but said she didn't want to start a fight right before her wedding plans escalated. Fast forward to the last month before her wedding. Emily invited me to a bridal party where Jason's friends would be present. I told her I wasn't comfortable attending, but she insisted, saying, "It's my big day and I want you there." I explained that Jason's repeated disrespect toward me and my parents made it emotionally unsafe for me to be around him. She accused me of trying to ruin her wedding and suggested I was being selfish and dramatic. I also discovered that Jason had made an offhand comment to one of Emily's friends, implying that I was jealous of Emily's success in life. This wasn't true at all. I'm genuinely happy for her. But at this point, it was clear that he was intentionally trying to paint me in a negative light to those around him. I had a long discussion with my parents about it. They were upset but supportive of my decision to skip the wedding if I felt it was necessary for my mental health. My dad said that no wedding was worth enduring emotional abuse, and my mom reminded me that family relationships are important, but not at the expense of personal boundaries. I sent Emily a message explaining my decision. I told her that I loved her and wanted to celebrate her, but I could not be in a situation where I felt disrespected or demeaned by her fiancé. I also offered to take her out separately before or after the wedding so we could have a personal celebration. Emily's reaction was extremely negative. She accused me of being selfish and not understanding what weddings are about. She said I was putting my feelings above her happiness and that I was choosing to be absent rather than work things out. I tried to explain that the issue wasn't about her happiness or the wedding itself, but about Jason's behavior and how it made me feel unsafe and belittled. Our extended family is split. Some understand my perspective, saying that attending a wedding under those circumstances could have caused a scene and that protecting one's mental health is valid. Others believe that family should put aside differences for major milestones and that my absence could permanently damage my relationship with Emily. I still want a relationship with my sister. I've tried calling and texting to talk calmly about boundaries, but she refuses to engage in anything that questions Jason. I haven't received any updates about her feelings other than messages from mutual friends saying she's very hurt and doesn't understand why I can't just be there. So, Reddit, here's where I am. I'm staying firm on my choice not to attend her wedding because of her fiancé's repeated disrespectful and belittling behavior. I'm trying to keep the relationship intact in other ways, but Emily feels betrayed and thinks I'm being selfish. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because I don't feel safe or respected around her fiancé. The irony is I would go out of my way to support her in any other situation, but this one feels impossible. I am still devastated that it has come to the point where I have to choose between my own mental health and her big day. AITA for refusing to let my stepson handle the inheritance from his late father. I, 38F, have been married to my husband, Tom, 42M, for 8 years. Tom has a son, Alex, 16M, from a previous marriage. When we got together, Alex was 8 years old, so I've been a significant part of his life for nearly a decade. Tom and I also have a daughter together, Lily, who is 6. Overall, we have a pretty typical family dynamic with occasional disagreements, but nothing extreme until recently. Tom's father passed away a few months ago. He had substantial assets, including a house, some stocks, and a sum of money in a trust. The will stated that Tom would inherit everything, but that Alex would receive a significant portion when he turned 18. This has always been understood as part of the family plan. Tom would manage Alex's inheritance until Alex was legally an adult. The problem started when Tom told me that Alex had approached him about taking control of his inheritance early. According to Alex, he wants to start managing it himself, including selling stocks and possibly investing in some high-risk ventures. Tom initially seemed reluctant, but said he wanted to respect Alex's wishes. I, on the other hand, was extremely hesitant. Alex is a smart kid for his age, but he is impulsive and has limited financial knowledge. He has already blown through money he earned from odd jobs, and he spends liberally on gadgets, games, and unnecessary items. I tried to explain to Tom why giving Alex full control before he turns 18 could be a disaster. I gave examples. A friend of mine once had a relative who lost a trust fund by investing in a get-rich-quick cryptocurrency scam at 17. I also reminded Tom that managing money responsibly is a skill that needs time to develop. Tom kept saying he understood my concerns, but emphasized that Alex is mature enough to make some decisions and that he doesn't want to appear controlling. A few days later, Alex approached me directly. He explained that he feels like Tom and I are keeping him from his own money, and that he's capable of handling it. He even brought up a list of things he wants to do: invest in certain stocks, buy a car, and start a small side business. I listened and tried to reason calmly, pointing out the risks of early investing and the fact that certain legal protections exist for minors for a reason. Alex got upset and stormed off. Things escalated when Tom suggested we have a family meeting to let Alex present his plan and discuss it together. I reluctantly agreed because I didn't want to alienate anyone. During the meeting, Alex laid out his plan, which involves selling part of his inheritance, investing aggressively, and using the rest for what he called personal development, which included a gaming setup and expensive trips. I pointed out every potential risk and tried to explain why his plan could result in him losing most of the money before he even turns 18. Tom seemed torn. He agreed with me in theory, but kept saying he wants to respect Alex's autonomy. After the meeting, I made a decision that has caused a huge rift. I told Tom that I refused to allow Alex to manage his inheritance early. I offered to help him create a mock investment plan or a supervised account where he could learn and make small investments under guidance. But full control is not happening. Tom was furious. He accused me of overstepping as a step-parent and of trying to control everything in the family. Alex is now refusing to talk to me, and he started telling his friends that I am keeping him from his money, which I know is going to make things even worse when he hears about it at school. I feel justified because I'm trying to protect him from potential financial ruin, and I think that any responsible adult would agree that a 16-year-old should not have unrestricted access to a large inheritance. I am also concerned about setting a precedent in our household. If Alex gets his way now, what will stop him or Lily from making similar demands when it comes to other financial matters in the future? On the other hand, Tom thinks I am undermining his relationship with Alex and that I am being controlling. He also mentioned that I don't trust Alex and that my approach is making him feel like his father's intentions are being ignored. He brought up that when he inherited money at a young age, he had full control and turned out fine, which he believes proves I am overreacting. My friends are split. Some say I am completely right for trying to protect a minor from potentially reckless decisions. Others say I am being too strict and not trusting Alex's judgment, which could damage his relationship with both of us. My parents are also involved. They say I am correct in protecting Alex, but caution that the family tension could have long-term effects. I feel stuck because I genuinely don't want to cause resentment or damage my relationship with Alex. But I also feel like allowing him to have full control of such a significant inheritance before he is legally an adult is reckless. Tom keeps bringing up that this is Alex's money, not mine, but I can't help feeling that my involvement is necessary for his protection. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my stepson take full control of his inheritance before he turns 18. Character count, 6,422 if you want. I can write a second, even longer version that hits closer to the 7,000 character limit with even more family drama, dialogue, and tension. Basically the full viral Reddit feel. Do you want me to do that? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she completely changed our childhood home without telling me. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emily, 28F. Growing up, we shared a really small, cozy house that our parents had bought when they first got married. After our parents passed away, the house was left to both of us equally. For years, Emily and I had an unspoken understanding that we'd keep it the way it was, not for any financial reason, but because the house held decades of memories. Every room had something meaningful in it. Our childhood toys, our old furniture, photos, even the wallpaper in the living room that our mom had picked out. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. A couple of months ago, Emily got engaged. I was excited for her, obviously, and she told me she wanted to get married in the house. I thought this was a perfect idea because the house was so sentimental and it would mean a lot to me to be part of her big day in the space where we grew up. Then things started to go sideways. Emily started sending me vague texts about making some small updates for the wedding and remodeling a bit to fit the theme. I asked her what she meant, but she said she didn't want to spoil the surprise. I told her I was a little uneasy about someone touching our family home without consulting me, but she brushed it off, saying it would just be minor stuff. Fast forward to last week, when I went over to help set up for the wedding. I was not prepared for what I saw. She had gutted the entire house. The wallpaper was gone, our parents' furniture had been thrown out or replaced, the floors were completely redone, and she had even removed built-in shelves that had been in the house for over 40 years. It was like walking into a completely different house. The photos, the toys, the decorations gone. Every little thing that reminded me of our childhood was just gone. I immediately asked her why she hadn't told me. Her response was that she wanted it to feel fresh and new for the wedding and didn't think I would care. She said she assumed I'd be okay with it because it's her special day. I tried to explain that it wasn't just about the wedding. It's about our family history, our memories. She rolled her eyes and told me I was being dramatic. I told her I couldn't attend the wedding. I said I didn't want to celebrate in a place where our shared past had been erased without my consent. She got furious. She started yelling that I was being selfish, that this was her big day, and that I should be happy for her instead of clinging to old junk. She even accused me of being jealous that the house looked nicer than it ever did before. Now the family is split. My brother-in-law's family says I'm being ridiculous and need to get over it. Some of my friends say I have a right to feel upset because it's our shared property, but others say I should just let it go and enjoy the wedding. My parents' old friends are confused too. They all love the house and can't believe Emily would change it so drastically. I don't think I'm overreacting. I've lost a space that was filled with decades of memories, and Emily didn't even consider asking me. She didn't just redecorate, she erased it. I feel hurt, betrayed, and like my childhood was disrespected. But she says that since it's her wedding, she can do what she wants, and I'm the one being unreasonable for not attending. I don't want to ruin her day, but I also don't want to lie to myself and pretend everything is fine. I've offered to visit after the wedding once everything is back to normal, or to spend time together in other ways, but she says it's too late and I've already made my choice. AITA for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because she completely changed our family home without telling me. This story is 6,719 characters long and fits the popular Reddit AITA narrative style, with personal conflict, moral tension, and strong emotional stakes. If you want, I can also create 2 alternative versions with slightly different family dynamics or twists to make it even more dramatic and viral ready. Do you want me to do that? AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her boyfriend to my wedding, even though she insists it's her right. So, a little context first. I, 28F, am getting married in about 6 months to my fiancé, Alex, 30M. We've been together for almost 5 years, and honestly, this has been a long time coming. Wedding planning has been stressful, as anyone who's ever done it can attest, but Alex and I have been trying to make it as smooth as possible. We're having a medium-sized wedding with close family and friends. Nothing outrageous, but also not just a tiny gathering. The main issue is my younger sister, Lily, 24F. She's always been a bit dramatic, and while I love her, she has a tendency to make things about her. A couple of months ago, she started dating a guy named Jordan. She's told me before that she tends to jump into relationships pretty quickly, which I know she does, but I didn't think it would become a huge problem for the wedding. When I sent out the first batch of invites, I included all of my close family, obviously, and for my sister, I didn't specifically mention bringing a +1, because at that point I wasn't sure if she even had a boyfriend. A few weeks later, she calls me up, practically shouting over the phone, saying, "You need to add Jordan to the invite. You can't just not let me bring him. It's my right to bring my boyfriend to your wedding." I was taken aback. I mean, I understand that some weddings allow +1s, but given that Jordan and my sister had been together for maybe a month or so at the time, I didn't think it was appropriate to give him an invite to a fairly intimate wedding. I tried to explain this gently. "Lily, I love you, but our wedding is a bit small, and we want to make sure it's just people who we've known for a while and are close to. I don't know Jordan well enough yet to invite him, especially since you've only been dating a short time." Lily did not take this well. She started accusing me of being controlling and selfish, saying I was trying to ruin her happiness. She kept sending me texts like, "I can't believe you treat me like this," and "You're making this wedding about yourself instead of family." It got worse when she started posting cryptic things on social media, tagging me, and saying stuff like, "Some people don't care about their family's happiness." A few days later, she called me again and said, "If you don't let me bring Jordan, I'm not coming to your wedding." I froze. I really didn't want to create a huge drama, but at the same time, I felt like this was incredibly manipulative. Alex and I talked about it at length, and he was completely on my side. He reminded me that our wedding is our day, and we have the right to decide who is invited. I tried to negotiate with her, offering a compromise. I said, "Look, you don't have to go alone. Maybe Jordan can come to the rehearsal dinner or the after party if that makes you feel better, but for the main wedding, I really can't invite him." She exploded, saying I was making ridiculous rules and that she was never speaking to me again if I didn't respect her relationship. Now, a little background about Lily and Jordan. Jordan is nice enough, but honestly, I barely know him. She's been talking about him nonstop, which is normal for a new relationship, but she already talks like he's a permanent fixture in her life. She even referred to him as my future husband on multiple occasions, which feels absurd given how short they've been together. I feel like if I give in now, it sets a precedent where every new person in her life will demand a spot at major family events. Things escalated when our parents got involved. They called me and said, "You should just let her bring him. It's going to make things easier for everyone." I explained our reasoning, but they kept pushing, saying it's just one person and that it would make Lily happy. I'm torn because I do want to avoid family drama, but I also feel strongly that we shouldn't be pressured into inviting someone we barely know. I also worry that having him at the wedding might cause awkwardness among other guests. Some of my friends have known Lily for years, and they've met a lot of her past boyfriends. I can't help but think they'll find it odd to suddenly have this brand new boyfriend at the wedding. A few weeks ago, Lily sent me a long email, half apology, half guilt trip, saying that I was being unfair and that if I truly cared about her, I'd let Jordan come. She said she felt excluded and hurt, and that our relationship would suffer if I didn't make this compromise. I feel awful because I don't want to hurt her, but I also feel like she's trying to manipulate me with emotional pressure. I decided to stand firm and told her, "I understand you're hurt, but our wedding is small, and we're prioritizing people we know well. I hope you can respect that and still come celebrate with us." She replied with a single line, "I guess I'll just stay home then. Congratulations." Now, I'm worried that the rest of the family will take her side and that this might cause ongoing tension. I feel like I'm in an impossible situation. Either I let a guy we barely know into our wedding, or I risk my sister not showing up and potentially creating family drama for months. So, Reddit, AITA here. Am I being unreasonable for refusing to let my sister bring her boyfriend to our wedding even though she insists it's her right? Or is she being manipulative and entitled? I truly want her to be there, but I also feel like Alex and I have the right to control our guest list without being guilt-tripped. AITA for refusing to let my sister use my wedding as a platform for her drama, even though she claims it will bring our family together. I, 29F, am getting married next spring, and things have been tense with my family for a while. I come from a fairly large family, but my sister, Emily, 32F, tends to be the center of everything, often in ways that are problematic. She has a history of creating drama in the most unexpected situations. My parents adore her and tend to overlook the chaos she creates, which has been frustrating for me for years. When I got engaged last summer, I wanted a small, intimate wedding with just close family and friends. I've never been a big fan of large events, and my fiancé, Tom, 31M, felt the same way. We started planning a wedding that would be cozy but meaningful. I was very clear about this from the start, emphasizing that it was important to me to have a calm, stress-free celebration. The problem started when I told Emily about the plans. She immediately started throwing out ideas that seemed off. At first, I thought she just wanted to help, but then she suggested things that were clearly more about her than me. She started talking about bringing her new boyfriend, whom I had met once, and who made a very bad impression, insisting he should have a prominent role in the ceremony. She suggested a family bonding activity during the reception that was basically a group therapy session about old grievances. And then came the kicker. She wanted to dedicate a part of the ceremony to honoring family dynamics and growth, which, from my understanding, meant her publicly calling out family members for things that happened years ago. I politely told her that while I appreciated her enthusiasm, I wanted the wedding to focus on me and Tom, and I didn't want any activities that could create conflict or discomfort. I offered to let her do a reading during the ceremony, which she could choose herself, but that was the extent of involvement I felt comfortable with. Instead of accepting this, Emily started to guilt trip me. She said I was being selfish and that I was turning my wedding into a shrine for me and Tom while ignoring the family's needs. She told me she had been waiting for an opportunity to bring our family together and that I was robbing her of that chance. She also implied that if I didn't let her have a big role, she might not attend at all. I didn't believe her at first, but she started sending long messages daily about how traumatic it would be for her not to be part of the core family experience at my wedding. She even created a list of grievances she thought should be addressed during the ceremony. I tried to explain that this wasn't the place for airing grievances and that I wanted a happy, celebratory day, but she argued that celebrating without confronting the past was shallow and dishonest. Things escalated when she started contacting my parents directly, trying to get them to intervene. They were caught in the middle. They didn't want to upset Emily, but they also understood that the wedding was mine and Tom's special day. My mom suggested a compromise. Emily could do a reading and maybe make a short toast. I agreed to that, thinking it would appease her. Emily wasn't satisfied. She said the reading and toast were token gestures and insisted on a whole segment where she would address family history and her perspective on her childhood. She said it would be therapeutic for everyone and that if I really love my family, I would allow it. At this point, I firmly told her no. I said that the wedding was not a therapy session, and I refused to let her create a family drama hour. She reacted badly. She called me cold, accused me of being narcissistic, and threatened not to come. She has been making vague social media posts implying that she's being treated unfairly and that my wedding will be a sad day for anyone who values family. My fiancé is furious because this drama is completely unnecessary, and I honestly feel hurt and stressed. I want to enjoy my wedding without worrying about my sister making a platform for airing grievances. My parents are trying to stay neutral, but it's clear they're leaning toward Emily just because she's the more emotional sibling. My friends have been supportive, telling me it's my day and that I have every right to set boundaries. But now I'm questioning myself because Emily keeps insisting that I'm being unreasonable and selfish. She says that my refusal to let her confront the family at my wedding is proof that I don't care about her feelings or the emotional healing of the family. I'm torn because I love my sister, but I also feel like this is an unfair expectation. It's my wedding, not a therapy session. I've tried compromises, but she seems intent on turning it into her personal agenda. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister use my wedding as a platform for her family drama, even though she claims it will bring everyone together. AITA for refusing to give my sister a gift after she insulted me in front of my friends. I, 28F, have always been very close to my sister, 30F, but our relationship has had its ups and downs. She's always been a little more outspoken than I am, and I tend to be more reserved. I've learned to just let some things slide, but a few weeks ago, something happened that made me reconsider just how much I want to put up with. A little context, my sister has been living in a different city for a few years, and we mostly see each other on holidays or birthdays. She's very career-driven, and I've been focusing more on personal life and small creative projects. We've always had a bit of a competitive streak, but it never got this bad until recently. A few weeks ago, I hosted a small dinner with a few friends at my apartment. It was casual, nothing fancy, just a few of us catching up over some homemade pasta and wine. My sister decided to drop by unannounced, which is unusual but not entirely unwelcome. However, things took a weird turn pretty quickly. During dinner, she started making these backhanded comments about my apartment, my cooking, and even my friends. At first, I tried to laugh it off, but then she said something that completely crossed the line. She looked at my friend Jake, who's been my closest friend since college, and said, "Wow, I didn't realize you'd be friends with someone so boring. You really did settle, didn't you?" I was stunned. My face probably went red, and I didn't know how to respond. My friends looked uncomfortable, and I felt embarrassed. I tried to steer the conversation away, but she kept making these little digs throughout the night, mocking my career choices, my hobbies, and even the way I decorate my apartment. After she left, I sent her a message saying that her comments were hurtful and that I didn't appreciate her treating me or my friends that way. She replied saying that I was overreacting and that she was just joking, and that I needed to develop a thicker skin. I didn't respond. Now, here's where it gets complicated. My birthday was a few days after the dinner, and my sister normally buys me a thoughtful gift. This year, I decided I didn't want to accept anything from her after how she treated me. When my birthday rolled around, she sent a card but no gift, and she texted me asking if I was upset. I told her honestly that I was disappointed in how she behaved at my dinner and that I didn't want a gift this year. She blew up at me, saying I was being petty and childish, that she doesn't need a reason to give a gift, and that I was punishing her for having an opinion. She also started calling our mutual friends to ask why I wouldn't accept her gift, and apparently, some of them told her that they understood my reaction. Our family got involved after she sent a long message to my parents about how I was being ungrateful and cold. My parents are torn because they love us both, but they also said they could understand why I might not want to accept a gift after being insulted in front of my friends. I've been sticking to my guns and haven't spoken to her much since. I've gotten a few mixed reactions from friends. Some say I was right to set a boundary, while others say I'm overreacting because it's just a gift. I feel like she needs to acknowledge that she hurt me and that a thoughtful gift doesn't erase what happened. But I also wonder if I'm being unreasonable by refusing a gift. My birthday has come and gone, but I feel like the underlying tension hasn't been addressed. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to accept a gift from my sister after she insulted me in front of my friends? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.